is a candidate for the Councilman's Second Ward. He's a longtime resident of Clinton, a 21-year veteran of the U.S. Army. He served in the U.S. invasion of Panama, Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, Operation Enduring Freedom, and Operation Iraqi Freedom. He wishes to support economic development. He wants to be available for concerns. He will support the efforts to improve safety and improvements in our community, and will support not to raise property taxes or fees. Mike Carney is far to the far right, and my right, far right, was born in Clinton, Iowa. He's lived and voted at the same address in Ward 2 for the past 8.5 years. He's a graduate of Clinton High School in 1958, Washington University, St. Louis, Missouri, and with a BS degree in electrical engineering in 1962. He attended Wharton Graduate School, University of Pennsylvania, Master of Business Administration, 1964. He's fluent in German and Spanish. He was the first lieutenant in the U.S. Army, served in active duty in Europe with the Adjutant General's Corps. He's retired from an executive career spanning 30 years in manufacturing, banking, and finance, working for major corporations such as First Chicago Bank, Valuation Research Corporation, and Hussman Corporation in and outside of the United States. His retirement provides him with the time necessary to devote to his responsibilities on the City Council. In retirement, Mike also works as an independent contractor, managing the Van Allen, Howes, and Armstrong buildings downtown, home to the 65 Clinton residents. Now the candidates running for Councilman at Large. Jacob Coupe is a 26-year-old native Clintonian. 26 years? With a bachelor's degree in community and regional planning from Iowa State University, he's attending Ashford University in pursuit of his master's degree in organizational management, public administration emphasis. He spent the last year as a volunteer intern at the Clinton Regional Development Corporation and the last 3 years as groundskeeper, regular maintenance man for the Recreation Department. In addition to his work at the Recreation Department, Mr. Coupe is also the president of the Clinton Flying Disc Guild, a voluntary entity of the Recreation Department aimed at promoting and developing disc-related sports in the Clinton area. The Guild currently boasts 2 sports, 2 tournaments, 3 leagues, and over 170 annual participants from the ages of 16 to 50, and has brought in over $13,500 to the local economy just this past year. Jacob believes that Clinton is closer to recovery than most people believe, and feels, based on his experience from CRDC and education from ISU, that there are only 5 points that Clinton needs to focus on and correct the order to move forward towards a brighter future. Ed Kimple, to my left, second, is a property owner. He sees an opportunity to move our city forward in the upcoming years. He's been speaking with other Clinton residents. His discussions have been about a balanced budget, infrastructure, and job creation. As a council member, Edward's resources would be focused on 3 areas to provide opportunities and solutions. He believes that we should be spending our time, energy, and efforts in exploring ideas, setting goals, and executing plans that will balance the budget, improve the infrastructure, and create more jobs. If you're looking for someone to represent you that thinks critically and strategically, provide solutions, and will make Clinton thrive instead of survive, Edward is that person, and we'd like your support on November 8th. Middle candidate is John Rowland. He is running for the city council at large position. He's married to his wife Gloria for 48 years, has 4 children and 8 grandchildren. He's employed by Sethnes Products in Clinton, Iowa for 35 years. He's been active in numerous community affairs. He graduated from Mount St. Clair College in 1980, graduated from St. Ambrose in 2006 with a focus in religious studies as a pastoral associate. Since 1992, active in parish ministry, writing plans and implementing surveys to improve church programs, helping families in need with food and clothing programs. He served 3 years in hospitals as night chaplain on call. He's active in visiting the sick and homebound. He's taught Bible study and religious classes for 18 years. He was elected 3 times to serve on the Clinton City Council. He's committed to solving the financial problems at City Hall. He's willing to listen and work with people. He will study the issues, ask investigative questions, and work to improve our community. He's willing to vote no when needed. He's committed to open government. Man on the far left is Jacob Coupe, who is a, whoops, we read that one already. We'll shuffle the papers. I got them all. Oh, I told you it'd be rough tonight. So I think we're ready for the questions. So I'm going to try to do something we haven't done before, but whether I can be successful with it or not, time will tell. But so often we've asked the question, and they all 3 answer the same question. So by the time you get to the 3rd one, he's got the answer already prepared for him. So we're going to try to jump around if I can, but we'll start out in alphabetical order. And we'll do with Julie Alessi to each of you bring various public and private sector experience and background to your candidacy. Please provide us with those attributes, experiences, and prior training which you believe will make you the best candidate for the position for which you are running.
My work life began with the A.C. Nielsen companies, at which point I was the marketing service administrator for that company, and with authority over New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. In 1986, the Nielsen companies were sold to Dun & Bradstreet Corporation, and I became a salesperson and the marketing services coordinator, working Monday through Thursday out of Boulder, Colorado. When I decided that I didn't want to leave Clinton and remain in Clinton and not take an opportunity in Boulder, Colorado, I came back to Clinton and I opened Fun and Games. So I have business-related experience for 2 businesses, Fun and Games and the JCPenney Catalog Merchant. I've been the director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, marketing this city for a period of 12 years, and I am the chamber president with vast experience with over 400 or 565 members, business members in this community.
I'll now move down to John Rowland, the candidate at large, and ask, the city of Clinton appears to have a financial shortfall. As a candidate for consul or mayor, to what do you attribute the financial predicament in which the city of Clinton finds itself?
Well, excuse me, Ron, the financial shortfall or meltdown, whatever you want to call it, started quite some time ago. It goes back, the history of it goes back to actually, I think around 2006, when the city of Clinton got in the purchase of what was called Dodd Farm property, and they decided to pay cash and took the cash out of reserve funds or general fund to make payments on that farm. Those cash payments totaled $2.3 million, and that was a huge mistake. They should have bonded that money, and they didn't. And that was the start of the downfall for city finances. Second problem that is more immediate and one that I think most people are more aware of was that EMS settlement that cost them $4.5 million. And then more recently, it's almost like a rubber band snapping. Every day you pick up the paper, you read a different item that they're trying for an idea to bail themselves out. Excuse me. You see things like 1 minute they're going to sell the municipal dock, the next minute they're going to move into other areas, but it shows things are kind of really out of control.
Thank you, John. Mike Carney, each of you bring, as I've said the question for Julie, various public and private sector experience and background to your candidacy. Please provide us with those attributes, experiences, and prior training which you believe makes you the best candidate for the position for which you're running.
Well, thank you. I've had some extensive experience both in the corporate field and more recently, of course, with city government. I think that in the course of my work in private industry, I've had to meet a payroll, and that's an experience that I think is character building, because often on Thursday you have to take your receivables to the bank to discount them to meet your payroll on Friday. I've had responsibility for selling product, both tangible and intangible, and I think that that kind of experience develops the ability to interact with people from all walks of life, people that have varying interests, and to try and reach a common agreement with them that's beneficial to both sides. I've lived in a number of different communities. I think that's given me the opportunity to see how different communities approach problem solving for the things that confront every... I'm told to stop. I can follow instructions.
Okay, Ed Kimple. Periodically, there's a discussion about a new police station and another fire station. This discussion also brings with it additional bonding to finance these projects. What is your position on a new police and fire station and the city taking on additional bonding to fund these projects?
Well, I think that number one, our public safety needs to come first. I don't think any citizen in Clinton would want to have a heart attack and wait for the fire department to show up 15 minutes later. It's a little bit too long. Same way if we had a break-in in your house. You know, you don't want to wait 8 minutes, 10 minutes for the police to show up. So I do believe that the police department is in need. I do think that we should create a new building. Maybe make it multi-use so that you know, it's just not that. The 3 fire stations that we have in Clinton, I think that serves Clinton well at the present time. Until our city gets back on its feet and we can get our finances correct, I definitely think that we should turn around and think about our decisions before we race into it. Thank you.
Mr. Brockett, back to the one question, each of you bring various public or private sector experience and background to your candidacy. Tell us what your attributes, experience, and prior training lead you to believe you'd be the best candidate for the second ward.
Thank you. I spent 21 years in the military, and believe it or not, I probably learned 5 different jobs the whole time I was in there. I was an engineer for almost a total of 10 years, and at the same time I was doing engineering. I was going to school for financial assisting. In the financial assisting, I learned that there's so many ways that a person can come out of a hole and not realize it, and all it takes is a little bit of reading a book to figure it out. And I'd like to take the chance to use that same education I got from the military to help the city of Clinton as well, because I know that the city of Clinton can get out of this hole, and I want to be a big part to make that happen. As well as I have a lot of training behind safety, rescuing, and I feel that I can help that as well. It's quite a bit past what it is now. Another thing is I have learned that there's so many ideas that Clinton in the past has thrown away because enough, again, has not voted together like a gentleman over here said a few minutes ago. It don't happen until you do it together.
Mr. Capay, Jake, the city of Clinton makes presentations to the Iowa legislature and Iowa congressmen in Washington, D.C. on an annual basis. Would you support this practice in the future? Do you think funding for these trips should be a part of the annual city budget? And also, do you have an opinion on how these presentations should be determined and addressed? All in 1 minute.
Set, go.
Well, the first part is an easy one, so.
I do actually feel that these trips to Washington, D.C. and to Des Moines are very much warranted, at the very least just to get our legislators in those 2 places very much aware of what is going on around here, so that those that are representing this area can still continue to have a clear, concise idea of what is going on around here. That being said, I don't believe they are currently under the city budget, and therefore I kind of caution as to whether or not we should begin using that practice of placing them under the city budget. If we can, through any kind of collaborative or volunteer efforts, work towards maybe putting in a fundraiser or something every year to go down there to the respective cities. Maybe that might have to happen, or work on some sort of other means of collecting the funding. But I would so strongly caution against adding another cost to our already dwindling resources as they stand. So.
Mike Carney, you want to answer the same question?
Well, I've gone on these visits every year since 2004. I strongly believe in them. I think it's important that we have a deep base of acquaintanceships here within the community with our legislative delegation in Washington. Perhaps the most useful part of that is the interaction we have with staff. As has been pointed out, these are financed in great measure by people who go themselves or the organizations they're associated with. That seems to have worked out well. We can thank Tom for helping raise some of the funding necessary for that to happen. So I think we need to have as much contact with our legislative representatives as possible.
Back to you, Jake. You're the young one. Everybody brings various public and private sector experience and background to candidacy, and you've cited a couple things you've done, but provide us with some of those attributes, experiences, and how that will fit in to make you the best candidate for the position of alderman at large, or councilman at large.
Well, I am young, and I know as far as an experience level, that doesn't leave a lot of room for much to have going for me. That being said, I am passionate about public administration. I am passionate about planning and doing things right the first time, so that way you don't have to go back and revisit them and do them over again. That's a waste of resources, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of everything. When I was in Iowa State, going for my bachelor's in community and regional planning, I was constantly in contact with people around the community, especially younger citizens more around my age, as far as starting the Disc Guild here in town, asking people, what would you think about this? How do you feel about that? And constantly getting their input and how would they participate if this started. And ultimately, when I graduated, one of the first things I did once I returned is I began this Ultimate League with the help of all of these people that had offered input. And I feel that if we continue to do that and continue to work in a collaborative effort, that will stand to be what I can bring forth to this council.
Good. Thank you. Julie, LSC, back to the question about a new police station, another fire station, and the talk about bonding. What is your position on a new police and fire station and the city taking on additional bonding to do these projects?
At this particular time and in this financial circumstance, I think that we'd hold the line, build up our reserves, and not move forward with any major projects till we have our financial house in order.
Ed Kimple, back to the question regarding presentations made to the Iowa legislature and Iowa congressmen in Washington. Would you support this practice in the future? Do you think funding for these trips should be a part of the annual city budget? Do you have any idea or opinion on how these presentations should be determined and addressed?
I absolutely believe that we should have communications and go out to Des Moines, go out to Washington, D.C., meet the legislators. The only way that you can move forward, the only way that we can bring this city from surviving to thriving is to go out, meet them, start a dialogue, work as a team, because that's what it's about. It's about working as a team. If people don't know who you are and they don't know that what your city needs, then you're not going to be in the know. Let's face it, there's a lot of money in Des Moines. There's a lot of power in Des Moines, same way in Washington, D.C. The more that we can be recognized and the more that, there's an old saying that somebody knows your name, that can be a good thing because they will remember you when something's coming up. It's a bad thing too because, of course, when something goes wrong, of course, you're going to be the first one to be named. So absolutely. I don't agree that it should be a city cost. I believe as being a councilman for the city, that it's something that we should.
All right. John Rowland. Go back, you said some of us in your initial statement that I read, but bring us up to date on your public and private sector experience and background, and provide us with some of what those things will do to help make you the best candidate for the councilman at large.
Okay, thank you, Ron. It was a long time ago, 28 years, when I was last on the city council, but some of the things that we did at that particular time are still enduring to today, and so I'd like to mention those. One of the first things we did, and it was 9 members on the city council at that time, and things were a little more contentious probably even than they are today with some of the different factions. One of the first things we did was put in a city administrator position, and it passed on a 5-4 vote. I was the key person in passing that 5-4 passage. Another item that I funded was the hotel motel tax for the Clinton Area Visitors Convention. Again, it was a 5-4 vote, and I was a key person on providing that vote. Another item that we provided at that particular time was a $50,000 funding for the Clinton Area Development Corporation. Again, it passed on a 5-4 vote, and I was a key person that provided that vote. Today, the Clinton Area Development Corporation is still getting that same $50,000 funding that they were 28 years ago.
Thank you. Mr. Brockett, let's go back into the discussion of the fire station and police station and the thought of bringing bonding in to finance these projects. What's your position on the police station, fire station, and the city taking on additional bonding to fund those projects?
I'd have to agree with the fact that we need to freeze funding on the police part right now. I think what we have now we can deal with. We need to deal more in some of the faults we have in financial right now to see somewhere else. Also, the fire departments, I think, or should I say I agree that they're fine. They don't need no change. Maybe on down the road, but right now we need to concentrate on debt instead of adding more debt.
Okay, let's go back to Mr. Kemple. Inherent in the discussion over cutting the city expenses, there seems to be a desirability to the laying off and or the retirement of police officers and firemen in association with not hiring anyone to fill the vacant ranks. What is your position on this option, and how do you think it will affect public safety?
I'm very passionate about this part. I've spoken to a lot of citizens here in Clinton. And our public safety is number one, let's face it. I do not agree with laying off of our police or our fire department. When you're in need of them, you need them to be there. You do not want to have to wait 8-10 minutes for them to show up. If there's one thing in this city that I would like to see stay, and from the citizens that I've spoken to, that is the police and fire. Do we need to make cuts? We do. But let's sit down with the police and the fire department. Let's say, what can you do without? What can you cut? Let's start there. Let's just not say, okay, $300,000, there goes 4 people. That's wrong. Let's see what they can come up with first before we just start making it more unsafe for our public safety. Thank you.
You should be fairly knowledgeable on this, Mike. You want to give us your reply to that same question?
Well, first of all, there's a big difference between layoffs and early retirements, and the approach of the city administrator thus far has been to incentivize some people to take early retirement as a way to reduce our personnel expenses. And this is across the board: police, fire, public works, etc., even the library. As of yet, at least, there haven't been any recommendations to the council that I'm aware of that we should actually lay off anyone on the police and fire. Now, as far as facilities are concerned, certainly there are concerns both for police and fire vis-a-vis facilities, and I think I agree with the rest of the speakers that until we're in a little more solid financial position, we really should not consider new facilities.
You're answering a question that I haven't asked yet. You'll get that opportunity.
I thought you were asking me.
Well, that may be.
What did I do? Blow your...
No, no, let's not get into it. All right. Let's try James Brockett for a question regarding, if you're elected, what are your expectations for the role of the mayor, the city administrator, and the department heads?
Are you asking me who should be mayor?
No. Should have couched that a little more carefully, shouldn't I?
Right. Can I get back to that question?
Yep. If you're elected, what are your expectations for the role of mayor, the city administrator, and the department heads? I think strictly from a leadership situation and what responsibilities they should take on and how they should be handling their jobs.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm not out here to cut no one's throats. I mean, I don't believe in that, but I tell you what, I don't believe that a mayor should have to do his job alone or her job alone. I think what Clinton needs to realize is just because we're running for councilman don't mean we can't step up with that mayor and whoever else there is on board of the city and work together. That's a big problem right now. There's too many people that are not working together. We can all step up. We can do it. We can make the city put the city in a lot better shape than what it is if we work together.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to Jacob. Talk about this discussion of cutting city expenses. There seems to be a desirability of laying off or the retirement of police officers and firemen in association with that, and then not filling the job. What is your position on this issue?
Well, first of all, yes, public safety is of utmost importance, and we should never take away the importance that it will have on the city. That being said, because we are in such a financial crisis and because our budget is in so much shambles as it is, at this point we cannot hold any one department sacrosanct. That being said, on top of that, we also, if we can't leave anything off the table at this point. We are currently have on the docket to cut 3 departments from our community entirely and spin off another one, leaving us with 4 departments less than what we had before. And to me, these 4 departments single-handedly are the quality of life, our future in the technology world and the 21st century, and our ticket out of this mess within these 4 departments. And we want to basically just eliminate them completely. And I cannot stand behind that. But we are in a position, and we cannot hold any one department above another.
Thank you. Julie Alessi, there's been several newspaper articles covering the city's consideration of selling the Clinton Municipal Dock. What is your position on this option, and why would you support or oppose this sale?
I don't think that I have enough information to make a educated decision on the sale of this dock or the retention of the dock. I think there's some things to consider. The value to the city of Clinton long term, the value, is it an immediate cash out value that we're looking for, or are we looking for continued long-term investment from our property? So at this particular time, unless we have competitive bids, I don't think I could make an educated decision on this process.
Thank you, Julie. John Rowland, you want to answer the same question?
Okay, why don't you run it back again, the question.
Oh, okay.
I know it was about the municipal dock, but I just wanted.
There's been several newspaper articles covering the city's consideration of selling the Clinton Municipal Dock. Right. What is your position on this option, and why would you support or oppose this sale?
I would be neutral at this time on either opposing the sale, either way, for or against, but I think it needs to be looked at a lot further and investigated much more. The council has thrown this thing around like a hot potato. 1 minute they wanted to sell it, 1 minute they didn't, and now they're back at it. The city dock has a lot of value there that's probably greatly underestimated, and we need to get several sources to look at it and give us an honest opinion of what it actually is worth. potential is there that it could be worth a lot more. And before they sell it or try to sell it, I think they need to look into that. And they need to, I think, take their time and gather the data before a decision is finalized on what they're going to do with the municipal dock. Right now, I think they're just trying to unload it for quick cash, and I think that would be a serious mistake. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mr. Brockett, what projects or actions by the city council do you envision would be proactive to creating more efficiency in city government and making the city government better able to serve the citizens of Clinton?
Well, I'm still trying to educate myself on that. I would have to say that I believe, being a councilman, we need to get out more than what we do and talk to these people, get them on board of what's going on, so they're not confused and upset thinking we're taking something from them. Let them know what's going on, talk to them about it, get their feedback, and just take a different route and work together. That's what a community is all about. A community does not want to be left out, so let them in.
Thank you. Mr. Kemple, would you have an answer for that same question? What projects or actions by the city council do you envision which would be proactive to creating more efficiency in city government and making the city government better able to serve the citizens of Clinton?
I think if and I'll agree with Jim on this, is that being on the outside looking in, do I have the expert answer to this? I don't. But I do think that by working together with the citizens and the council, that we can come up with something that will work. You know, I wish that I had more knowledge on this particular aspect. I think it's important to the city, but you know, I do think that working together is going to be the key to that one.
Mr. Carney, do you support or oppose tax increment financing to support commercial and or residential development, and your reasoning for that support or opposition?
Well, the general justification to do any tax increment financing is that we'll get something that we would not otherwise get. In the case of industry, of course, we have had that. We've had some for commercial and some for residential. During the time I've been on the council, we've only had one residential project that I can think of that has benefited from tax increment financing. There have been some commercial. One could make the argument that in a city of 26,000 and a market area of about 100,000, that retail sales are limited, and all you do when you give tax increment financing for one commercial development is to potentially injure another. So I think it's important. These things have to be looked on a case-by-case basis. And I'm told to stop.
Mr. Coupé, what projects or action by the city council do you envision would be proactive to creating more efficiency in city government, making the city government better able to serve the citizens of Clinton?
Well, as per my intro, I stated that there were basically 5 goals that the city needed to accomplish in order to get back on the road to recovery. First and foremost, we have to fix the budget. It's too far gone to just leave lie or continue letting go in the same direction it's going. Secondly, we need to establish some goals in the comprehensive plan. You know, where do we want to be in the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Who do we want to be as a community? You know, what do we want to see from outsiders when they visit us? What kind of face do we want the world to perceive us as a community in? Next thing we have to do is we need to promote proper development. You know, if that means working towards developments that increase density, you know, redevelop old neighborhoods within the town, infill empty land, just little things here and there that can foster that better use of our city services. After that, we must foster economic development. We need to get somebody going and something in this town to get us jump-started again. And finally, just use common sense in decision-making and take a step back and think about what we're doing before we actually go and do it.
Julie, LSE, do you support or oppose tax increment financing to support commercial and/or residential development, and your reasoning for that support or opposition?
I think it's one of the economic tools in the toolbox, and not only do we use it, but almost every community uses it across the state. Incentives are a big thing when people are wanting to relocate to an area. I'm not as much in favor of housing developments except for the purpose of putting in the infrastructure so that the area can continue to grow. Increment financing only gives the people the increment above what the actual tax would be, so we're not losing the actual tax base, but using the increment to develop infrastructure. So I think it's a tool in the toolbox, but there are other tools to be used along with that to bring business to the area.
John Rowland, could you answer the same question? Do you support or oppose tax increment financing to support commercial and/or residential development, and your reasoning for that support or opposition?
Yeah, I support using it for commercial and industrial development. Again, like Julie mentioned, I don't think it's usually too necessary for housing development. Perhaps for some of the initial infrastructure it might be on occasion, but it's just a small part that you have to be competitive with. Other communities will use it also, especially in the industrial and commercial area. So it's just part of our program that we've used for years in Clinton, so I wouldn't oppose it, no.
Jim Brockett, again back to the various articles regarding the sale of the Clinton Municipal Dock. What is your position on this option, and why would you support or oppose this sale?
Well, to be honest, I'm like a lot of residents out there. I got mixed feelings about the dock, and I'm going to say right now I oppose it.
Okay. Then I'll turn it over to Mr. Carney and ask him the same question.
Well, I've made it clear to a lot of people that I've discussed the municipal dock question with that I have two basic things that are a concern. The first has to do with value. We have received one appraisal for the dock, and I for some time have been encouraging the city administrator to get other opinions, whether they're formal appraisals or whether they're simply conversations with other potential buyers or users of the dock to see what level of interest is out there. The appraisal we have is of greater value than what we've been offered. So that's an issue. The second part of this is the use of the proceeds. If we sell the dock, it's a fixed asset, and I believe that the proceeds should only be invested in a fixed asset of equal or greater value to the city. And so far, I haven't seen any definite plan for the use of the proceeds if we sell it. So I think these questions have to be answered before I decide whether to vote yes or no if it comes before the council.
Jacob Cabay, you want to try the same question?
Sure.
Regarding the sale of municipal dock?
Okay. Well, as far as the municipal dock is, yes, it's a very touchy issue. I don't think anybody has a full grasp on exactly what we have down there as an asset. Until we fully understand all of the points that need to be assessed and valued in this discussion, I would be against it totally. However, that being said, the idea of going out and getting some bids, maybe just testing the waters, just to see what is out there, what we do have available to us, just as a means to just kind of get a base of how to go about that. Another thing we might need to do is maybe look into how can we adjust the current contract that we have. It's from my understanding that it is a non-negotiable contract that doesn't really leave us much return. And maybe if that's the case, maybe we need to get out of the contract. Maybe we need to see if we can without any kind of repeat. Yeah, he was told to stop. So
Tom held his hand up, I guess. All right, Julie Alessi, I'm back to the discussion of cutting city expenses. There seems to be that desirability to lay off the police or firemen. What is your position on this option, and what do you think how it will affect public safety?
Well, first and foremost, we have to work off of a budget so that we know what the number is that we need to cut, and we need to exhaust all of the other options prior to making personnel cuts. This is a very difficult task for any personnel manager or anybody that is in management. The effects are long-lasting on the people that are cut. I've been in a situation where they've downsized or right-sized, and the impact is large on the people that's affected. So I'd like to exhaust all opportunities or all knowledge to learn what we can cut prior to making those personnel cuts.
Thank you. Ed Kimple, we'll try question number 1. The city of Clinton appears to have a financial shortfall as a candidate for council or mayor. What do you attribute the financial predicament in which the city of Clinton finds itself?
Well, that's a really good one. And
I'm glad you like it.
I got to give it to that one. Unfortunately, there's some mistakes that were made over the past years. I think we all know that. You know, it was alluded to before in reference to the $2 million that was spent, that was taken out of the budget instead of being bonded for. Mistakes happen. You know, we have to get through them. We have to work together to get through them. You know, nobody's perfect, and I'm not going to turn around and say that, you know, our city council is perfect. That's why we have elections. That's why we can change the people if we don't like their points of views. So with that being said, you know, in 30-some days, well, 30 days, you're going to be able to make that choice. And let's make a change.
Thank you. John Rowland, if you're elected, we'll try this again. What are your expectations for the role of mayor, the city administrator, and the department heads?
Well, Ron, I hired the first city administrator that the community ever had, and I was very key in choosing the finalist for the position. And it's an important position to have a good city administrator, and it's very important to have a good team also, and the mayor's also an integral part of the team. I noticed a couple of weeks ago when I came in here, I saw a situation for the Clinton City Council, and I actually felt sorry for them because they were presented with a situation where they were asked to make decisions, and there was no documentation, no support material to provide them with. And that was a very unfair position to be for them to be placed in. And I think the department head should have stopped it right then, but it went on for quite some time, and it was very painful to watch. And if I'm elected to the council, I can assure you those type of situations will not happen if I'm on the council, because you have to have high standards, and you can't have things like that happen where the council is caught off guard. And that responsibility falls back to the city administrator. Thank you.
All right, we'll start that in. We're going to run this end for this one here. I think we're about time-wise, Sue. And it'll be a little bit of a opportunity for you to campaign, I guess. If you're elected to office, what goals and objectives will you seek to fulfill and accomplish? Mr. Carney?
Thank you. Well, one of the questions tonight had to do with effectively the organization of the city and how should the city be organized for maximum efficiency. One of the things that's been a concern of mine is that every year at budget time, we are presented with a budget that essentially gives the number of people that are going to work in each department and their overall budget. And we don't have a substantive discussion as to how we should change our organization as events would tend to suggest we need to change. We don't do things the same way today that we did a few years ago, and that has implications in terms of how we are organized and how we are staffed. The most recent thing is our trash pickup. Well, now that we have the automated trash pickup, presumably we'll have the ability to do more pickup in a certain period of time. And I think every year prior to budget, we should have a fundamental from the ground up approach to how we staff and organize our staff for the city.
Thank you, Mike. You want, Jim Brockett, you now have the same question. If you're elected to office, what are your goals and objectives that you will seek to fulfill and accomplish?
Well, my first main goal is a pretty important goal. I want to work to increase employment in the city of Clinton. It's a must. I feel the employment in this town is weak. I also want to be available for complaints. And when I say that, I don't mean just for certain individuals. I mean for everyone in my ward as well as the city. I also want to work to solve complaints, not just hear them, but work on them. Actually work on them and accomplish something we should do that's part of our job, accomplish them. I will strongly support improvement to all citizens in Ward 2 as well as the city. I will back the efforts to improve safety and improvements in our community. I believe at this point it can happen. There are other cuts we can make so we don't have to jeopardize our fire department, our police department, and our doctors, as a matter of fact. I will challenge and support all cutbacks in our community if they are for the greater good of our community.
Thank you. Julie?
Over the past 16 years, working with others, I have marketed the city of Clinton as a destination and as a community in which to do business. I have firsthand experience about the operation of small business and the issues that affect small business development. I've been on the board of directors of the Downtown Business Association, Main Street, Iowa. At the Chamber of Commerce, there are multiple businesses with operating budgets that must be adhered to in order to successfully complete the program of work established by the members and the board of directors. I feel that the council and the city is a board of directors and should operate under those same standards. I will be responsive to the needs and opinions of the people in my district and in the ward I live in and in the city. I have a positive attitude about the future of Clinton, recognizing that we have weathered some very tough times. I will continue to work to support economic development projects and grow the city of Clinton and be a part of the solution and not of the problem when facing difficulties.
Jacob?
All right. Well, all of my points are completely related to my 5 goals. Fix the budget. We have to get that on the right track, and not just for this year and next year, but for the next 5-10 years, so that we're not continually lurching from crisis to crisis like we currently are now. Completing the city's comprehensive plan and including goals that guide our decision making, that allow us to take advantage of our dwindling resources as best as we can. Providing any kind of promotion we can to developments and redevelopments that increase density, that promote pleasant and efficient designs, build parks and sidewalks, that make the city of Clinton itself more efficient in general and much more pleasant place to live. To streamline, revise, or remove any policies that are a hindrance to fostering and promoting economic development, especially when we're talking about high-paying jobs and industries and commercial business. Not necessarily just for this, that, and the next thing, but a targeted market. And then finally, just common sense and decision making. Take a moment, think, and then do. Don't do it the other way around. It hasn't worked in the past, and it will not work in the future.
Ed Kimball?
Yes. Well, let's face it. Our city has tough times ahead of us. Do we need a balanced budget? We do. We need a balanced budget that has a surplus built into it so that we can get our city back to where it needs to be. But let's be real, people. We still are going to spend money no matter what. The city has to spend money. Okay? Getting a balanced budget is what we do have to do. It's mandated by the state. Unfortunately, I didn't get asked about the dock question, but I, being a former real estate broker, I was not in favor of selling the dock. However, I spoke to the citizens. And a lot of people turned around and said, let's get us out of the crunch that we're in now. And you know what? In a way, I agree with them. Do I agree that we should accept the 6.5 million that they're offering? No. Let's have the dock reappraised. Let's sell it if the amount of money comes in and they're willing to pay for it. $10 million or better sounds good to me. It also gets the city back in a surplus, back with money back in our bank accounts. And I think that's important. You know, and he makes me stop.
John Rowland.
Thanks, Ron. The number one goal I see for turning things around in this community is very apparent to me. 28 years ago, when I was on the Clinton City Council, and probably 100 years before I was even here, this city always had a finance committee. There's no doubt in my mind that what's led to the financial meltdown in this community is the fact that we haven't had a finance committee, and it's desperately needed. Some people think that serving on the city council is like serving a board of directors. Big mistake. Board of directors don't deal with barking dogs, broken sidewalks, and bicycles that were stolen. Council members get those kind of complaints. The point I'm trying to make is you have to be hands-on when you're on the city council. Paul talked about it tonight, fiscal responsibility, and that's the key, and it comes through a finance committee. We don't have one, we need one, and that's why we're in trouble, plain and simple. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the discussion of the questions with the candidates for the second ward and for the councilman at large, and we're now prepared to introduce the mayoral candidates that are suddenly sitting on my right. First one is Ed O'Neill. He's a local real estate agent, economic developer, and community volunteer. Mr. O'Neill has recently worked for the Clinton Regional Development Corporation, where he focuses energy on the creation of high-paying jobs, grant writing to state and federal agencies, and community development. Mr. O'Neill has served previously on the Clinton City Council and the Hancock County Board of Supervisors in Illinois. He's been active in various community activities, including Vision Iowa and Great Places, and is currently serving as president of the Prince of Peace School Board, as a board member of the Clinton Humane Society, and also on the Prince of Peace Foundation Board. After receiving an associate degree in business administration from Robert Morris College in 1969, Ed served his country. You typed, that was a mistype. Served his country in the U.S. Navy from 1970 to 1974. When he returned to college, he received his bachelor's degree in law enforcement administration with a minor in business and finance from Western Illinois University. He's been married to his wife Diane for 41 years, lived in Clinton for the past 22, raising their son Sean and daughter Michelle. He also has two grandchildren, Josie 10 and Ian Patrick 8, that also live in Clinton. Lametta Wynn is the former mayor of Clinton. She served 12 successive productive years as mayor. Before running and since retiring from this position, she continued to be an advocate for our citizens. Before being elected mayor, she served on the Clinton Community School Board. She presently chairs the Mercy Hospital Board, sits on the Women's Health Board, the State Board of Education, and serves as an elder at the First Presbyterian Church. Her husband Tom, who is now deceased, and she parented 10 children, of whom she's very proud, all Clinton High School grads and various other education schools. Her campaign adds state, and she thinks you know, that's proven that she's strong and wise. She's here once again to be your mayor, as many both in Clinton and other cities have encouraged her to do so, and try our best to recover. She's willing to help where she left off 4 years ago and bring health to Clinton city government and hope for a better future. Mark Bullich is currently council member at large and has held that seat for nearly 6 years and is also serving as mayor pro tem. He and his wife Connie have been married for 28 years. Both were born and raised in Clinton. Mark graduated from St. Mary's High School, Mount St. Clair College, and the Indiana School of Mortuary Science in Indianapolis. From 1978 to 2002, he was the third generation to operate the Delaney Village Funeral Home. Mark and Connie currently own No Sweat, Tanning and Paperback Book Exchange, Midwest Services and Supply, and the Midwest Computer and Consulting, all here in Clinton. Mark felt the time was right to run for mayor as Clinton needs a change in leadership. Mark feels strongly that the citizens need a voice in city government that listens. Clinton is currently facing huge financial issues, and Mark feels his nearly 6 years in the council have given him the experience necessary to lead Clinton to a positive future. His voting record shows he's not afraid to ask tough questions, and he's not afraid to vote no on wasteful spending projects. He feels that the right fiscal leadership in Clinton, Clinton can will be a great place to live, work, and play. All right, we're ready to start the round of questions here. We'll start with, I think I'm going to ask the same one, start with one question for, same question for each of you. All three of you served in elected city council positions. If elected, what would you do differently than what you last served when you last served in Clinton and elected as an elected official on the city council? Start out with Ed.
Thank you. Right now, the present city administrator is fairly new to his job and is taking over with a heck of a mess. And I believe he's entitled to build his staff and team as he sees fit. He's responsible for the performance to the city council, and I want to see that he has every opportunity to put this together, and we'll concentrate working together to get us out of this current situation. Then in 2013, the council will be able to give him an honest evaluation of his performance, which I feel our approach. So I think in the upcoming January, to let the present city administrator work with the staff that he's put together, whether through cuts or attrition or whatever, put a plan together that's going to bring the city back on its feet and give him the support that he needs to do so.
Mark Willis.
Well, the difference between my current position is as a policymaker being a representative of the council. As mayor, it's my job to be the official representative of the city. The mayor is also responsible for the enforcement of all the laws and provisions of the Home Rule Charter. So it's a little bit different job. My job is to make sure that the policies that the council develops would be enacted, which would mean that we would work as a team, the mayor, the city administrator, and the council to achieve the goals that the council desires to accomplish.
If you want to know what I would do differently than when I was mayor before.
You are running for the same position you had before. So did you do anything that you think it would change, or do you feel that everything would be the same? I guess it would be for your perspective.
Everything would not be the same because a lot of things have changed. But as far as me running for mayor now and being mayor then, I think I do pretty much the same thing I did before. I have always respect people in their positions, but I expect them to respect me as the mayor too. And I think we don't always have a lot of respect. And as maybe you don't remember, but I demanded respect when people came to our council meetings, and I think we should have that still. I never told the department heads what I thought they should do, or because I presume when you hire somebody for a position that this is the person you want in that position, and this is the person that the council and I can work with. So if it meant changing things that way, I would.
Thank you. Mark, what projects or actions by City Council do you envision would be proactive to creating more efficiency in city government and making the city government better able to serve the citizens of Clinton?
Well, having served on the council, my biggest complaint about the city is they never know who to call. When they call City Hall, they get run around. They do not get the answer they want. And I think one of the most important things that we need to do is that people that answer the phone at City Hall, when you come in, that there's someone here that knows where to send you, which department you need to go to. And I also think that we need to be very customer friendly. There's no reason that there be people that are rude. We should treat everybody with dignity and respect, and we should have courtesy, and same as if we were operating a business. So that would be one of the things I would want to make sure was enacted.
And there's been the discussion regarding new police station, possible fire station, and also the possibility of additional bonding. What is your position on a new police and fire station and the city taking on additional bonding to fund these projects?
Right now, if I'm elected, I put a moratorium on any new projects for at least the next 3 years, including libraries, fire stations, police stations, either by referendum or council vote. Focus on completion of only 3 projects I think are to the next 3 years. And that'd be the sewer plant because it's mandated by the federal government, Liberty Air because it's on the highway build plan we worked for years, and the rail port because it represents 3,500 to 15 or 5,000 new well-paying jobs, which will have a positive effect on the community of over $100 million in the long term. And that's about expansion as much activity I think we need for 3 years until we get this thing straightened out. Thank you.
No matter what projects or actions by the City Council do you envision should be proactive in creating more efficiency in city government and making the city government better able to serve the citizens of Clinton?
I think one of the things we have to do is have to be careful when we are I shouldn't say getting rid of people, but when people are taken away from their jobs, because I think that's part of the trouble right now. Because since in 9 months we got rid of 3 department heads, and how can you run a government when you don't have department heads there to do the job that they know how to do? Because the rest of us, as the mayor, I cannot do the job of the other people, and I don't think anybody expects me to. So I think we have to be careful of who we hire and who we get rid of. That's an awful thing to say, but that's what we did. And so I think we have to be careful about what we do with our department heads.
All right, Ed, there's been several articles regarding the city's consideration of selling a municipal dock. Your position on this option, why would you support or oppose this sale?
Well, I don't think it's any secret that I totally oppose selling the municipal dock. I was on the council on the original lease agreement. I know the terms and conditions of it, including the repairs. This original document was for 50 years. They got a 50-year lease out of this deal, and that's more than anyone could really ask for. And now to come back and want to buy it, and it seems like, and we're being taken advantage because we're in a bad situation, and the base range that we're talking about, I don't think is realistic. I agree with John earlier that we need to go out, if we're going to do anything, renegotiate that lease. There is a clause in there for a 5-year, ending the lease in 5 years so they can amortize their leasehold improvements, and then maybe put it back out for lease. And if people want to bid for it and make it more productive for the city, I think that's a good thing. If there's city's intent on selling it, we need to put that out for bid, because personally, information I've received from other places like Cargill, we're looking at somewhere between $12 and $15 million asset, and that's what we need to get. Thank you.
Lametta, given the city's apparent financial difficulties and non-contemplated expenditures in the last several years, do you favor an annual budget of the city finances?
I really do, and I think the city has audited our finances and that, to an extent, but evidently things are getting eyes that we didn't catch up on. And so, yeah, I think that not only do we have to audit, but we have to have a person there. We didn't have a city finance director for over a year, and how do you look at your finances if there's nobody there to take charge of it? And I know that there were people here who helped with that, but we need somebody who is the finance director, not somebody who's helping out with finances. That's not right.
Mark, the Senate makes presentations to the Iowa legislature and Iowa congressmen in Washington. Would you support this practice in the future? Do you think funding for these trips should be a part of the annual city budget?
Yes, I do support the project, and I also know that we currently do have a budget for those items in our year expenditure. I think it's very important that we continue to go to Des Moines and to go to D. We wouldn't have Liberty Square today had we not made those trips. No more than we have the money that we have received for the sewer treatment plant or for 19th Ave North had we not gone out to D.C. and asked everybody to let them know that Clinton is on them. So it is an important project. We need to continue it. I think in the future that there's no reason we don't spruce up our presentations a little bit. If you can make those presentations and keep the legislators up to date on going on in Clinton.
Thank you. And inherent in the discussions over cutting city expenses, there's been seemed to be a desirability of the layoff and of the retirement of police officers and firemen in association with not hiring someone to those positions. What is your position on this option, and how do you think it will affect the safety?
Well, like I said earlier, I think we need to take, unless the administrator that we have now, changing the rules and changing everything, I think are not going to work. We need to give him a level playing ground, come in here, build his team the way he wants to build, be accountable for what he's going to do, and we're going to be at the end of 2011 here pretty soon. Start in January and go from 2012 to 2013, and then the council will evaluate him. He works for the city council; he doesn't work for the mayor. So the council needs to at least show him the direction he wants to go in, let him build his team, and work with that team to accomplish what he thinks is going to be the most productive thing for and then make him accountable for it in 2013 on his review.
Thank you. Lametta, some sense a feeling that there's a disconnect between the citizens and their officials in City Hall. If elected, how would you put to increase the communication with the public, the advisory boards, and generally increase the confidence of the citizens in their elected officials?
One thing I think we need to do, there's been a list out of the cuts we need to make for if it's police officers or whatever it is, and the IT person and the human resources. I'm wondering if any of these people, well, besides the fire chief and the police chief, I wonder if any of these people were involved in things. Do we really know what they do, or do we know that we can get along better without them? We can make some changes, but let these people be involved. And I think the morale would go up a lot more here if they thought they were of some value, or people think that maybe we want to really know what they do and be accountable for what they do.
Thank you. Mark, some associate the EMS building problem with the city's current financial crisis. What step do you take to ensure that something like the building issue does not arise again?
Well, the first thing that we've done to insure against EMS issue and the billing rising is that we've hired an outside billing firm to do all billing for the ambulance service. They are responsible for the proper coding of all bills. Should there be any issues, they're the ones that then assume the liability for that. The other part that should hopefully fix this issue as far as our finances, that we do finance director that will be starting on October 17th. It's something that we needed. We needed a finance director, and we need to make sure that our budget is balanced, and we also need to find out for sure if our shortfall is only $1.5 billion. At the moment, I am a little shaky on where we are with our budget.
Okay. Ed, the city of Clinton makes presentation to Iowa legislature and Iowa Congressman Washington. Would you support practice in the future, and do you think funding for these trips should be a part of the annual city budget? And do you have an opinion on how these presentations maybe should be determined and addressed?
Yes, I do support them, and I've actually participated in my tenure there on the chamber staff and on Clinton redevelopment. I've had the opportunity to go out to Washington and to Des Moines. The chairs of the chamber, Dennis Walter put me in charge of going out there and getting everything set up. So I've worked from the ground up and actually going out and making presentations. We have tracked over the years, and I think Julie will substantiate numbers, that there's a tracking record of $62-point-some million coming to the city of Clinton, directly responsible and directly related to those trips. So if you take the cost of going out there related to the cost of what we get back, the return on investment is substantially great. So I am in favor of it, and I think we should continue to do it and set our priorities.
And I'll offer the same question to Lametta, but since you started the whole practice, have you changed your mind on that at all?
No, I think it's one of the best things I did while mayor. When I came here to be the mayor, I said to council, we don't have any money. You need to send the mayor to Washington. And the mayor has never been to Washington, but there were other people who had, and we worked closely with the chamber and CRDC and the schools. And it was good to know how much money we've accumulated over the years. But not only the money that we got while we were there, it was the people we met and the staff of the senators and representatives who we invited here. And we gave them a tour on our trolley to see what projects were that we were wanting funding for, and that was a big help, and I think it has helped through all the years.
Okay, I think my notes are incomplete here, but regarding the Clinton Municipal Dock, this is to Mark Willich. What's your position on this option? Why would you oppose this sale?
I've been opposed to selling the dock since it was first brought up spring. When I saw this appraisal for $9-some million, and ADM is offering us approximately $6.3 million, I was very frustrated that we'd even consider selling it to them for that amount. Think about this. Would you go, and when you go to trade your car in, do you only get one price on a trade-in, or do you shop around and go to other dealers? We've never made an attempt to get a second opinion on the appraisal of the dock. There's discussions that we should have had a appraiser that was skilled in how to appraise the dock. I've asked why we don't second appraisal. I've asked why we don't get a broker to find out what the actual market value of the stock is. We don't even know if there are other people that would be interested in buying the dock. We seem to be in haste to sell it. The best that I understand is that we want to use the fund to shore up our general fund, which very much concerns me, because once we use those things that goes into the general fund, it's spent. Next year we are not going to have any revenue coming in from that asset because it will be lost.
All right, Lametta, we're back with you on each. You bring various public or private sector experience and background to your candidacy, which we reviewed in the introduction of yourself, each of you. Please provide us with those attributes, experiences, prior training, which you believe makes you the best candidate for the position for which running.
I'm presently doing a lot of things here in the city, and as I said in the intro that I gave to you, I've always been involved and concerned about citizens of Clinton. When I went on the school board and I was there for 15 years, we did so many good things, but the main thing I thought we did was something for the kids. When we had an alternative high school, we provided a nursery for those girls that had babies that still wanted to go to school, and we did all those things. Plus, not only things in the city, but I've been appointed to 3 different boards by 3 different guys here in Iowa, and I'm very proud of that. And they all had to do with people. Even the Vision Iowa board, I'm one of the first members on that board, and we had millions of dollars. In fact, we gave some to Clinton. And so I just think that the people I know, the places I've been, the things I've done, make me the best person. Oops, he said stop.
Well, I'm going to give each of you a chance to answer that if you can remember that. Very background to it, but why would your background, your training, experiences make you a better candidate, make you a better mayor than the other 2 people that you're opposing? Mark?
Well, I've been self-employed for 33 years, and I currently own 3 businesses. I know what it's like for some of the citizens in town to wonder how they're going to pay the bill and how they can deal with the high property taxes that we have. I've learned to budget. I've also learned how to live within a budget. I've also had experience with hiring and firing and personnel. I've also used recently my computer experience to get the city finally started with direct debiting of sewer bills. It's something that's taken me 4 years to get the city to start with. They finally are doing it, and they will soon be accepting credit cards both online and in person. Now, there again, the government moves at a glacial pace, but I'm very patient, so I was able to get that accomplished.
Ed?
Thank you.
Any questions?
Ron said in my opening statement, I serve on several of them town here. And solving problems and serving on boards means listening and reaching out to everyone involved. That's what I've done as an active member of the community and my church in the community. As a positive approach, I will bring that to the city office as mayor. As mayor, see that the mayor presides over the council meetings, appoint committee that are capable of solving particular problems, and then act as a goodwill ambassador for the city council to promote the goals in the city and the community. So I think that's what I can bring, is a sense of team building, problem solving, and then letting people do the job that they're hired to do in the committees that were put together to do them.
Mark, there's different approaches to governing Ed Stutland, Mayor, which include policy setting, micromanaging, hands-on, and so forth. If you're elected as mayor, what would be your style of governing?
Well, I'm not a micromanager. I believe that communication is one of the most important things that the mayor has to deal with. You must be able to communicate very well with the city administrator, and you also must be able to communicate with the council. It's very important that the council have all the information that they need to make the decision, since they are the actual policy makers for the city. In the past few years, there seems to be a breakdown between the communication between these three parts, and I want to make sure that that's restored. Earlier, the mayor is the official representative of the city, and he is responsible for enforcing all the rules. I believe that we need to have the team approach, because using that acronym, together everyone achieves more. If we work as a team, the city will prosper. The mayor and the city administrator must also work very closely to make sure that the policies that the council have enacted are carried out.
Loretta, do you support or oppose tax increment financing to support commercial and or residential development, and your reasoning for that support or opposition?
Well, the ones that we have done have been so successful. I think that we need to be very careful about what we do with tax increment because the good things we've done are like IV, and we've done some building, but you have to be careful what you do with this. And if it's something that we can do that's going to improve the city or bring us jobs like he did, then I think we should do it, but we have to be careful in how we look at it.
Thank you. I think we've gone through most of the questions. Everybody's had a fair opportunity to expose themselves. You have now a 2-minute opportunity to cover what I didn't cover or express some opinions on some other things and give us a little bit of a campaign speech. So at this particular point, I'll turn it over to Mark Volich.
I'd like to thank the Chamber for sponsoring this forum tonight. I'd also like to thank those that have been helping me with my campaign. I'm proud and humbled that the citizens of Clinton have allowed me to represent them for the last 6 years at council at large. I believe Clinton learned to live with its budget. I voted against 2 of the last 4 budgets as they contained spending or additional personnel, which I considered unnecessary. The most recent budget did not even have a solid number to it. The budget went from a potential $300,000 shortfall in February to nearly $1.5 million shortfall in July. I'm opposed to selling the middle dock to shore up our general fund. Selling a prized asset is a short-term fix. When the money is gone, the asset is gone, as is our yearly income. I don't agree with the large amount of dollars being offered for the early retirement incentives. Public safety is a prime concern for me, and I feel that there's other ways to reduce the deficit without radically reducing police fire personnel. We must have good communication between the mayor, council, and the city administration, and we need to work as a team. We must also have good communication with the citizens of Clinton and respect their thoughts and concerns. As mayor, I'll work to have an ability for our finances. I will not tolerate poor financial management that was allowed this for so many years under previous administrations. I will also diligently work to project a very positive image for Clinton and build a solid relationship with the county, Chamber of Commerce, the Regional Development Corporation, and our state federal legislators to bring business, industry, and jobs to our community. Experience and a positive vision are needed Clinton, and I've shown that I have that vision and the experience to deal with those difficult issues that are facing Clinton. Please vote for me, Mark Volich, for mayor, Tuesday, November 8th, and together we will move Clinton forward. Thank you.
Ed O'Neill.
Thank you. Transparency and accountability, I feel, are the important elements that I've been carrying in my campaign. But I needed a plan of implementation of what I was going to do when I elected. First week in January, I'm going to create a finance oversight committee from the council with 3 members. That committee will meet with the finance director on weeks that we don't have meetings, and during the council meetings, they will give a verbal report to the council on the current status of the city's finances. I also have a plan to have the entire council attending to discuss the open meetings law and to set the narrow parameters which we will use at closed meetings in the future if we use it at all. Things, where are we going from here? Blame and finger pointing is not the solution. We need to reevaluate. What we need to evaluate is what's the most important thing for the future. I'll try to illustrate that goal. A few years ago, some people got together with a big plan that they knew how to do what they were planning to do. So they sat down, they wrote up a mission statement, and they put that together, and they thought they had a pretty good idea. It went something like this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and secure the blessing of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States. That's what's important about this election. We, the people. And that's what I promise to work for in office. I thank you for your time and for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Loretta.
Yeah, I would like to express my thanks to the Chamber and the Government Affairs Committee and to all the people who came here tonight to listen to us, plus who are probably watching on TV tonight. The mayor is by definition not the manager. The mayor, even so, I will work with other people who have this job to manage our city. I'm not a manager. I'm not a manager or a micromanager, but I will work with people who that we have put there to manage our office, and we've got to keep those people in their businesses. I don't think that we can just sit there, tell people what to do, and if they don't do it, get rid of them, or if they're not doing it, get rid of them. And we can't dismiss people just because we think that we can do the job better. Because if I'm the mayor, I can't do your job better. I would like to think that I know some of the things about your job, but I can't do it. So I have talked a lot about specific goals, and these points are in my platform. I want to restore good partnership to fix Clinton's financial health. I will lead a team of people who know how to get the Lincoln Well port on. And that's another thing. The CRDC is very important to our city. And 3 years ago, we had 5 people employed there. We now have 2 people working there because there are businesses and industries who don't believe enough in what we're doing that they will put their money into what the CRDC is doing. And we need them. They need our finances, and we need them to see that things get done, such as the rail court and whatever other. Well, you always put the sign up. Whatever projects we have going. So I would love to be your mayor again. I feel that I know enough people in the state and in our federal government that I can talk to people, especially about this $4.5 million thing. That's one of the first things I would do if I'm the mayor, or when I'm the mayor. I will look into this because that's something that should never have happened. We should never have agreed to that. So I'm asking for your vote, and I will give you my confidence. I will certainly lead the city in a better direction.
Thank you. Thank all candidates. The purpose of the forum is to allow you to become better acquainted with the candidates and help you make your voting decision on Election Day, which is Tuesday, November 8th. I urge everyone to vote. The City of Clinton is facing a difficult time and issues. Tonight's forum has provided you with a better understanding in your mind of the persons to work with and resolve those problems facing our city government. Thank you for watching. Be sure to vote on Tuesday, November 8th.